Okay. All right. I'm live. Ellie, hello. You made my night. I didn't know if anybody was going to be here because it's late. And my husband was like, "Are you going to go do the live stream now?" I'm like, "Better late than never. Maybe it'll work out better for some people. Maybe they have little ones in bed or whatever. Maybe it'll just be some quiet time." So, better late than never. I am here, y'all. I am here. You're going to catch us with the morning coffee. Okay. Yeah, and then we're on Texas time, so I don't know where everybody else is at. Maybe it's a little too late for you. So I got my camping mug here. I'll catch you in the morning then, Ellie. We'll have coffee together in the morning. So I have a dress for you. I have a cardigan for you, and I have a really good topic tonight. We're going to be talking about submitting to our husbands, being obedient to our own husbands, and kind of just sharing some thoughts on that. Carlos, my buddy, just sharing some thoughts on that and kind of how I walk that out and yeah, just talking through that whole deal. So, your buddies were out wrangling cows today, Carlos. They have a really big bull that's in the trailer right now, and he has got a date tomorrow at our local butcher shop. But it was kind of I'll get into it later. I'll show you the dress first. We got a touch of rain and it's been super dry. Really, really. That's not common, right? Where you're at. It's usually pretty steady with the rain up there, right? All right, y'all. So here is my dress. You probably can't see it super well through here. Let me move the microphone a little bit. Probably help, right? This dress is the same dress as I showed you. I think I showed it to you in pink and in like a baby blue already. It is a girl's dress, teen dress, and they also sell similar styles for the regular women's size dresses as well. It has the ruffle sleeves, as you can see, and I just love so many things about this dress. It's so comfortable. It's just a regular, I just use it as a house dress, but you can wear this anywhere. You could wear this to church. It kind of comes down, you can see, below my knee. And I do have a slip-on underneath of it, but you wouldn't have to. You could just wear your yoga shorts or whatever you do for underneath. And that will probably be fine too. This cardigan I'm pretty excited about. It's kind of warm for right now in Texas, but I wore it just because I was so excited about it. It's on sale right now, so y'all are really, really blessed because I got it last week and it was not on sale, and now it's on sale, and it's like, I think it's $23 with the little coupon. Like, it has like a, it's like $25 and then it's like a $3 coupon or whatever, so it's pretty inexpensive. I really like it. It's really pretty. It has like buttons, and it has these little, I don't know, like this little scallopy pattern, and it's very, very soft. It's very soft, it's very light, but it's warm enough, definitely warm enough for a Texas winter. But it'll be a good fall sweater, even up north if you had, you know, just a good fall like temperature. So let's get into it tonight. Carlos, you're going to be my buddy on here, I guess. And let's jump into it. So, talking about being obedient to our own husbands, right? That's what the word commands us as wives, right? Is that we have to honor our husbands. And I'm going to share with you all some verses on that. Let's see here. Let's see if I have my, yeah. Okay, so my first verse that I have is Colossians 3:18, and it says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters, according to the flesh, not with eye service, as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. So that's the order of things that the Bible lays out for us. There we see that the wives are supposed to submit to the husbands and honor the husbands. The husbands are supposed to love the wives and be not bitter against them. So treat them as giving that honor back to the weaker vessel, right? So that way it's easy for us to submit to them, right? Because they're self-sacrificing, they're loving us, right, in those ways. And then also children, to obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. So even if you might not see it exactly your parents' way, the right thing to do is to submit, right? This order of submission, right, is that as the wife submits to the husband, right? The husband is submitted to Christ, right? The husband is submitted to the church. He's submitted to authority, right? Figures in his life. If he is a employed, right? He is in submission to his boss, right? And so as the wife sees that godly submission in the husband to all of these authority levels, then it makes it easier for us as a wife to submit to the authority of our husband. And then for the children, and I've pointed this out many times to my children, right? Like, I don't speak like that to daddy, or I don't, like if there's something that they are doing that I can say, like, well, you don't see mommy and daddy do that, right? So so there's this hierarchy of submission, right? And then it says, servants, obey your masters in all things according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God, right? So that is, if you are employed, right, that is the way that my husband wants to honor his employer, right? Is that you don't just do eye service. You don't just agree with them when they're right in front of you and then disrespect them or say something dishonoring about your boss. You serve them with singleness of heart, right? So you might not exactly see it the same way at work or whatever, but you honor that position, right? You might not honor, you might not agree with all of the little details, but you honor the position. So that's the order that's laid out here. And I have some other verses. I have a bunch of stuff for you tonight, y'all, so you got to hang tight with me. I got 2 little devotional things that are really great. And then I have some practical things, like 6 ways that I try to focus on to honor my husband. And we're going to have a great conversation. So just hang tight. I'm going to give you some more verses to think on, because the Bible speaks a lot about submission. Okay, as Christians, submission is a beautiful thing when you see it. Christ submitted himself, right, to the Father. So we have all of these pictures in Scripture. So Ephesians 5:22-24, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. That's a hefty verse. I heard a lady explain that to me years ago, and doing it as unto the Lord, right? It goes back to that verse we just read in Colossians about, like, whatsoever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord, right? So when my husband is at work, he is working as unto the Lord, right? So he's not working to serve his boss. He's working to serve the Lord Jesus Christ, right? So he is working as unto the Lord. So in that respect, it keeps him accountable to be honoring to other coworkers, to be honoring to his boss, right? And the same with wives. How we serve our husbands should be as unto the Lord. So we are doing it in service to the Lord, which is really hefty, and it's a good reminder to all of us, right? And the same with serving our children, right? We do it all as unto the Lord, right? So that's why we don't disrespect these little people that the Lord has given us, right? We honor them as little humans, and we demand the same respect back, right? We don't just let them rule our lives and run amok. We honor them, and then we explain to them, look, mommy's speaking respectfully to you, right? Mommy doesn't speak to you like that. So we have that relationship. 1 Peter 3, 1 through 21 through 22. Okay, I'm not reading all that. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, talking about the husbands not obeying the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. So, we talked about that several times in past videos about 1 Peter 3 and how the conversation is our whole lifestyle, right? It's the way that we walk out our faith. It's not just in what we say, right? It's not just lip service, right? The Christian faith, it has to be show me your faith by your works, right? So you can't, faith without works is dead. You can't just say I have faith, right? So it's that walking it out, right? Are we walking out our Christian life in front of our husbands and our children and our families? 1 Peter 3, 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. And it does take men a lot of knowledge and insight to dwell with a woman, right? Everybody can say amen to that. Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So the Lord will not hear the prayers of a man that is not honoring his wife, right? Because those two are one flesh. So, and the Bible talks about, I don't know if we're going to cover it tonight, but you wouldn't hurt your own flesh, right? So, a husband should take care in how he interacts with his wife. Vice versa. A woman should take great care in how she interacts with her husband. Just because they're big and burly and muscly and tough does not mean that we can abuse them with our mouth and our words, right? It's bad either way, right? A man talking disrespectfully to a woman, especially his wife, is very bad, but it's just as bad for that woman to be nasty and disrespectful to their husband, right? So all of these things go back and forth, right? It's just as ugly as it is to see a mother disrespecting and being nasty and just harsh with her words towards her children. And then vice versa for a child to disrespect. It's just all ugliness. Like, that should not be the way that we interact as Christians. We should be guarded. We should be sober. We should be very, very slow to speak, slow to wrath, just preferring one another, right? Loving one another more than ourselves, right? That's what I always tell my kids, right? Loving others more than yourself. And that definitely goes into marriage as well, is just esteeming others better than ourselves, right? So let's go here. Colossians 3:18, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as it is fit in the Lord. So, not doing something, if you have a husband that is lost, and you're saved and he's lost and he's asking you to do something ungodly, that is not required, right? So our submission has parameters. Our submission has boundaries, right? If your husband is asking you to do something against God's word, that is where the boundary ends, and you are not required to submit to that. So as it is fit in the Lord, so as it is, decent in the Lord. Let's see. Um, 1 Timothy 2:12, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. So we're not to lord over our husbands, right? That's not our job. We're not their preacher. We're not their spiritual leader. We're not we're not supposed to lord over them. We're not supposed to let me straighten you out here, husband, and teach you all of the things that you should understand and know, right? That's not our job. If there's a difference, then we can discuss it. We can share our thoughts, but we're not there as their teacher, right, to lord over them. And it gives you a good reason to pray, right? So let's see. Colossians 3:19, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Right? Ephesians 5:21 through 33, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. So that is the hierarchy, right? That is the little pyramid there, right? Is like God's on the top, and then there's the wife, and then there's the husband, right? And it's like this. And the closer your relationship, both of you grow with God and get closer to God, the more your relationship will grow together, and you will honor each other, and you're glorifying the Lord together. So that's how that works. So if you're having trouble with your spouse, pray with them. Like, spend some time praying with them every night. If you're having trouble in your relationship, focus together on growing, or even separately, focus on growing closer to the Lord, because in growing closer to the Lord, you are going to be able to love your husband properly, and love your children, and love your families. It just all trickles down, right? Let's see here. Ephesians 5:33. I'm almost done, y'all. Ephesians 5:33. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. So that's one verse that I was referring to earlier when I was saying even as himself, right? We're one flesh, right? We're one flesh. When we get married, we're one. So so that level of respect is the same for himself as it is for you, right? It's that sacrificial love that you have one for another, right? Let's see. Galatians 3:28, there is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. And that's like the infamous verse that everybody likes to quote. But we do see that that doesn't disregard like all of the other verses and the order. So this verse is talking about salvation. Okay, so there's neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free, right? This is talking about in salvation, right? We are at an equal playing field when it comes to salvation, right, in the Lord. But that doesn't mean that there's no order, right? There's order in the home. We just saw about the children, right? We saw about employment, right? Working for other people. There's definitely an order, that God is a God of order. Proverbs 14:1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. That is a really hefty verse, and it is so true. And we as women are so prone to pluck down our own houses with our own hands and destroy things. And this even would probably go into, if you wanted to go and look at the divorce rate in our country and see among Christians, most of the time, the divorces are initiated by the women in Christian marriages. And we are just, we are more easily deceived. We just, a lot hinges on us as women and where we set the bar, and not saying that there's not situations. Of course there's situations where there's all kinds of situations. I'm just talking about the bell curve, right? I'm talking about all the women that I know in my life that regret getting divorced, that they would all say, and they're all different ages, but even my sister who, she was married young and it was a whole situation, but now, way later, way down the road, 25 years down the road, she'll still say, I regret that. Like, I regret getting divorced because, and she was married to an unbeliever, but we're just so easily deceived as women. And I'm not talking about crazy abusive situations, but I'm talking about just normal married life and the stress and just the endurance that a normal marriage takes to go through. We are usually the ones that are more prone to tear down our own house. And that's just my 2 cents. Y'all can disagree there. I can speak from personal experience that yes, and especially as I look back over the course of 25 years of my marriage, I was definitely the one that was way more prone to destroy my house than my husband. 1 Peter 3:5, for after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. So we're not called to be in subjection in like to every man in the universe, right? We're only called to be in subjection to our own husbands, and it shouldn't be too hefty of a load because we picked them out, right? Like, we did know kind of who we were marrying. Most of us, not all. I know there's lots of exceptions here, but most of us, speaking again to the bell curve, the big bell curve, but most of us kind of knew who we married, right? Like, we know, right? Like I said, even with my sister and her situation, she did know who she was marrying. Some people don't. Some people get really taken advantage of, and that's a horrible, horrible situation. I'm not talking to that. So let's go into this a little bit. Well, first, let me share with you. I got 2 little quick devotions, and I just thought that I wanted to share these with y'all tonight because they were relevant to what we were talking about. So this one's called God's Ways. When there are disagreements in our marriage, I, as the wife, need to be quiet and pray. God will work through his still small voice, but he never works through a nagging or arguing wife. God's way always works. We often think of communication as the ability to express my feelings talking to my child. Instead, I need to seek God's ways and really listen to and talk with my child. To communicate is to share, to make known, to join, to connect. Do I connect with my child? Do I share with him? So first she was talking about her husband and that relationship, and then she's talking about her relationship with her children. There's the hierarchy, right? So as she submits to her husband, and then how she interacts with her child. So just showing that same grace and mercy that her husband is showing to her, right? When there is a disagreement, and she is in submission to that, it gives you something to pray about. If you're not on the same page, a good friend of mine used to always say, We might not be on the same page, but we're in the same chapter, or we might not be in the same chapter, but we're in the same book, you know? So, like, that's a really good way to look at marriage, especially different seasons when you're two different people, right? You're gonna grow and change as people. Like, I totally disagree with the idea of like, well, we just grew apart, we just changed, you know? Well, of course you changed. Like, of course you change. We all change as people. That's good. That's healthy. Like that would be how boring. Like you got married and 50 years later you're the exact same person? No, of course not. Like you're going to change, you're going to grow. And that's all normal and good. The challenge is that you work to maintain this relationship that you've committed your life to, right? In Christ, right? The commitment was to Christ. The commitment was not necessarily to that other person. The commitment was that you vowed a vow to God. So that is your commitment, right? So I do absolutely believe in sharing my thoughts, maybe to a fault a little bit sometimes, with my husband. I'm not quick if we are in a disagreement about something that's really important, but not critical that we're on the same page this year. I'm not going to exhaust myself in that. I'm going to take that opportunity and bring that thing to the Lord over and over and over again and let the Lord do it. And He is so faithful and so good to do it and to work it out. And then I have something to rejoice in when the Lord has revealed things to my husband and I haven't had to do that, right? Because I just stepped back and I just prayed about it. That does not mean that you can't communicate what you're seeing or something that the Lord's shown you. It doesn't mean that, but it means that you might say it once at a very opportune time, you know, maybe twice, whatever. You say it once in a while and then you let it go. You don't just on and on and on and kind of take on a role as an authority over your husband, right? Like lording over your husband with something. So I think that's what she means when there's a disagreement, it's time to be quiet and pray. It doesn't mean, in my opinion, it doesn't mean that just be quiet and shove it all down and never say a word that you ever disagree. That's not healthy and that's not good. I don't think that's it. I don't know that you have to vocalize that you disagree with every single thing. My stepmother would always like let me know, like, you know, I've learned to pick my battles, right? I've learned to what things are important and what things aren't important. Like, there's a lot of things that really just are not important. Like, okay, honey, you want to have hot dogs tonight? Cool, whatever. I really can't stand hot dogs. I think it's horrible, but we're not eating hot dogs. I'm just giving an example, right? There's certain things that like, okay, you want to do whatever, fine, right? Like there's certain battles. It's just like with your children that it's not worth that, right? And then there's other things that are really, really important, and you want to share, but you have to use discretion in how you share, when you share, and that you're not undermining his authority or his masculinity in how you share that. And then the rest needs to be submitted to the Lord. I'm hoping I'm making sense with that. Let's see. So this one's called submitting. Submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James 4:7. Submission or yielding isn't a difficult path to take when I understand it. It's not something I put on, but something I become. If I submit myself to God and resist the devil, submission to my husband will be easy. Teaching our children submission and being consistent in training them is not always easy. but it's easier than dealing with the rebellion of an untrained teenager. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. So, again, the first part is talking about submission to her husband and yielding, right? And it's not grievous. God's ways are never grievous, right? Again, I know I always have to put this in parentheses here, but like we're not talking about abuse, right? If there's abuse going on in either husband or wife, if you are just, and I'm not just talking physical abuse, like my husband and I always say, like, if you all are just like being nasty and just can't control yourselves, you need to figure out life. Like you need to separate, you need to figure out something because you're going to destroy your children, your home, like something massively needs to be done with that, right? And then if it's physical between the two of you, that's a whole nother level of absolutely, there needs to be separation there. And that's just craziness, right? So that's not what we're talking about here. When we talk about good, healthy, loving marriages, men preferring their wives, wives preferring their husbands, right? We're talking good, loving, healthy, respectful relationships. That's the bell curve that we're working in here, right? So that is not grievous, right? It just takes preferring someone else above myself, right? So there's lots of ways that we can do that as wives, right? Like every day, there's lots of opportunities to serve our husbands and prefer them over ourselves, right? And then teaching our children submission and being consistent in training. It's not always easy, right? But it's easier than dealing with the rebellion. So we talk about that a lot in our parenting courses. Like, it's very easy to be the lazy parent, right? It's very easy to neglect your marriage. It's very easy to neglect communication, right? That's very easy, right? You can be a lazy spouse and not invest in your relationship, and that is going to come out eventually. Or you can be a very lazy parent and not be diligent in raising your children, and a child left to himself will bring his mother to shame. Like, that's going to come out eventually that you are not being diligent. So both of those things are really important. All right, let's get on to, I have this here for y'all. And then I'm going to get into your comments because I'm excited to see what y'all are saying. Shaquan is on tonight. Are you exercising, Shaquan? It's probably late. 6 biblical ways to love and respect your husband. Okay, so this is some things that I think are really good here. Number 1, submit to his leadership. So leadership in the home, leadership with the children. Now my husband always has given me full course like leadership with the kids. He delegates a lot to me with the kids, training and discipleship and homeschooling and just the day to day. I have always really taken care of that. Even like discipline things and all of that kind of stuff. I've always handled that because he has always worked outside the home, and I really just was thankful to just be able to deal with it. And then when daddy gets home, we're just going to have a peaceful night, and it's just going to be like, we can go on with life, and daddy can actually just enjoy the kids. Not that there's exceptions to that, right? There's exceptions when I'm like, okay, I need you to speak to him about this, like this, there's definitely been times for that, but I'm just saying as a whole, I try to mainly handle that area, and not pass that on to my husband. I don't want to burden him with every little like titty, tat, like little thing that happens during the day. Like, I just don't, I wanted my husband to want to have more children. So That's just being very open, okay? But I see this a lot with younger wives where they will push everything forward to their husband and say, well, daddy's going to handle that when he gets home, and daddy's going to do that when he gets home, and daddy's going to, whatever. I mean, there's no harm in your husband helping you bath the children or brush teeth or read stories for bed or whatever. But when you're overwhelming that man with like all of these child rearing things to do on a regular basis, I mean, I was always afraid that I was just going to convince him to, like, never mind, we don't need any more children. Like, you can't handle it, obviously, wife, and I'm left here holding the bag. So let's slow down on this whole having babies thing. That's kind of how I always had it in my mind. So I just, unless if it escalated to a thing where I needed him as a backup, or I just needed his support on something, I needed to call in. Y'all, if I have to call daddy at work, they know, okay? And I mean, I have said, like, if I have to interrupt your daddy at work, like, it's on, okay? Like, if I can't take care of it here and y'all can't submit to mommy, then, you know, you know, God bless y'all, because daddy's going to straighten it out. So, and there's been lots of times, that's happened obviously over 25 years where daddy needs to have a phone call with somebody, and that is like a last resort, right? Or daddy needs to talk to somebody when he gets home. That is like a last resort. 99% of the time, mama handles business and daddy gets to come home to a peaceful house because I handled it during the day. Okay. And if you can't handle a toddler, God help you when they turn 15. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Because you should be able to handle a toddler. Okay. You are way bigger than them. You're way smarter than them. You can think way quicker outside of a box than them. Okay. So we need to figure things out. We should not have toddlers running our lives or 10-year-olds running our lives, okay? We should be able to be mothers that know how to handle business. Okay, I think I handled it. I think I covered that one. And I was going into my leadership role, but of course this had to do with submitting to my husband's leadership, right? So the children see that mommy's not going to budge, right? Mommy's not a pushover, right? So if mommy's not a pushover, surely daddy, like, you better fear daddy because, mommy's already like stubborn as a rock. So, it's just not going to happen with daddy. So, and then they see me submitting to his leadership. So it's like, in real life, like, hey, we have a whole bunch of stuff outside that, we could really use a dumpster, like, to clean up the farm. And he's like, okay, I'll get a dumpster. So then my role then is to say, he knows my request, right? I'm going to wait on that, right? So maybe I bring it up like every couple weeks or so. I say, hey, are we going to order that dumpster? And then that's it. And then I let that go, right? I wait on the dumpster to show up, right? I don't nag every single day. I learned this, y'all. I am dying. Okay, I'm taking the sweater off. The air conditioning's on, but I'm like, my face is getting hotter and hotter. It's hot in Texas. So I learned this, right? When I was a young wife, I had a list of things on my refrigerator of things that I wanted him to do. And I thought that was good because then I thought that was a good way it was like a silent reminder of a whole list of things. Maybe some men would thrive on that, okay? But my husband and his personality does not thrive on that, okay? He does not thrive on that. But maybe your husband would. Maybe he's a list guy. Maybe he's organized guy and he likes that. But Mine doesn't. But I thought that I was doing good because then I'm not nagging him. I just have my list of requests on the refrigerator, like a lifetime of lists. And then yeah, like I just thought that was being a good wife, right? That I wasn't going to bug him. I was just going to have the list hanging in front of him forever. Anyway, I learned a lot since then. The list came down many, many, many years ago because nothing got done on the list. And I think that that would be like, because of my husband's personality, he would look at that list, and I have children, at least one like this, that he is going to look at that list every day and be like, that's the last thing I'm doing. Like, I'll do anything else, but I ain't doing what's on that list, right? Because it's just a personality thing. And if you don't know your husband's personality, I highly, highly encourage you. And I'm not into psychology, y'all. Not into psychology one bit. Okay, so take it with a big old lump of salt. But I highly encourage you to go on to 16 personalities and do a little 5-minute, 3-minute personality test and chew up the meat, spit out the bones, but do it on yourself and then let your husband do it. And you're going to gain all kinds of insight into all of the inner workings of his brain, and all of the things that you thought you were going to conquer in this lifetime. You're going to be like, oh yeah, there's no hope. There's just no hope. It's not going to happen. Unless if he decides to change it, it's just not going to happen, y'all, because that is how he's wired. It's how he's wired, and vice versa. It's how I'm wired. And poor guy, the poor man, like this is what he's stuck with, okay? So, unless if I choose to work on myself, which, we should all be working on ourselves. But it's really good. And actually I had my children, my older ones, take that 16 personalities test too a few years back. And it was recommended by another homeschool mom. And we thought it was totally ridiculous because we're not into psychology at all. I did psychology and all that stuff in college. Totally, totally not into psychology. But her husband had to take it for a work thing for his employer, and she was like, no, it's kind of legit. So I had my older children take it, and wow, like it was just like, okay, I understand now. Like I can see, yeah, the 16 personalities. You can just look it up, Shaquan. It's just gonna, it's crazy. But like I said, not everybody's into it. So just chew up the meat, spit out the bones. And it's, it's not Christian per se, but it is very truthful. My friend her husband had to take it for his job. He does like computer, something like real high up. And they needed a man with a certain personality type to hire because of the job and what it involved and everything. So anyway, my older children took it, and wow, like it drastically changed my interactions with them, how I interact with them, and how I know they're seeing the world. Like even just to know who's an introvert and who's an extrovert, because I thought I knew and I had no idea. Like I really, really did not know at all. And then knowing these different things and knowing how my different ones' brains work and how they're wired, I'm like, that's why he responds like that. Okay, that's why he, like, we'll all be talking about something and then he just says something that sounds like it's totally from left field. It's not totally from left field. It's that his brain is going nonstop and he's figuring out things that none of us are thinking or talking about right now. And he has great strengths in like all of these other different, like, this is my one child, and he's like, logistics. Okay. If you want to know the logistics of something, if you want to know like details, if you get something that's like 1,000 pieces and it needs to get put together and the directions are in Chinese, that's who you give it to, because he is logistics, and he will devour that thing until it's all put together perfectly, and then he'll show you exactly how to run it, how to do it, all of the little details of it, right? And then I have my oldest one who is like the big picture guy. okay, which is hysterical because they're all different. I don't have any kids so far, I don't know about my little ones, that are the same personality. They're all different than me and my husband, and we're different than them. But trying to understand each other is just really, it's really, really important. And we still crack up. Like there's still once in a while, and it's been a few years since we did those tests, and we took them over and over because we're determined to prove the thing wrong, but it doesn't work like that. And there's still things. I'll send him funny videos, about his personality and stuff because it's just there's certain things that are just true. So some other things that we can do in submitting to our husbands in his leadership. So yeah, we talked about like in the home. We talked about spiritually, right? We submit to his leadership. So this can be really, really difficult, right? If your husband has different ideals on church or Bible things or just different, because we're all growing in the Lord, right? And sometimes, like, we grow like this, right? Like it's up, but it's like down, up, down, up. And just being able to honor him in that and submit to that, that is not easy, ladies. That's not easy. But the Lord will honor us, right? He'll reward us openly for our submission as we honor them, right? Sharing in his burdens. So this is really important, right? Listening to the things that are going on from work, being his confidant, right? Just being that companion to him, that you're really listening to him when he gets home, or maybe he's gone through stuff with different work relationships or family relationships, or loss of family, losing parents or aging parents. There's just all different types of things that we experience as our marriages go on, and being that soft landing place for him, being very, very careful with your words, and just being there to comfort him through those things, sharing in his burdens, right? Crying with him, being compassionate, right? Being just very, very careful with our words but listening, right? Appreciating him, right? So that's really important for a man to feel appreciated, right? And so, and certain men, what's the other one? The 5 love languages. That's pretty funny. We did that one too, and we like totally speak different love languages. That one's kind of like a little more trivial though, I think, because I'm going to tell you something at the end. But anyway, but it is kind of interesting to know or whatever. But appreciating him, right? So sending a text message, telling him how much you appreciate him at work, just having dinner ready for him, right? Like my husband is more like acts of kindness, like that's one of his love languages. So like he doesn't care how many text messages I send him and say that I love him. Or little cute little memes or whatever. He doesn't care about that. He cares that he has clean socks and underwear in his drawer. Like he cares that there's dinner to eat when he gets home. That's what he cares about. So understanding that, right? Because that's important. So maybe your husband is just all about the words, right? But mine is all about like the socks and the underwear. Like he has to have clean socks and underwear. It's like a big deal. Okay. Praying for him, of course, that goes without saying, right? We need to pray just a couple minutes before you go to bed, before you go to sleep. Just you can pray silently or in the morning when he leaves for work, or both, right? Just pray for him, right? Just they need our prayers, right? And especially if we want our relationships to grow stronger in the Lord, and we want our relationships with our husbands to grow stronger, right? And our children, because it all affects everything, right? If your relationship with your husband is off, your relationship with your children is probably not going to be the healthiest that it needs to be either, because that contention breeds contention. And even though we don't realize it as wives, it is definitely, it affects everything, right? So pray for him. He needs your prayers. Support him, be supportive, meaning like in practical ways. This is how it works out in my house anyway, is like, okay, he needs dinner, right? Okay, let me text him. Do you need me to do anything? 99% of the time, he doesn't need me to do anything. But if he did, like, oh yeah, if you could go drop off this paperwork to wherever, or hey, could you pay that emergency room bill that's sitting on the table? That would be really great. Or could you call here? Once in a while, he will give me a task to do like that. And I'm, ready to do it, because he doesn't give me very many things that he needs me to support him for. But some men are different. Some men need you to take care of all the finances in the house, and balance the checkbook and do different things. So whatever it is that your husband needs from you, being supportive in that role. And then last, but maybe it should be first because they are men, is meeting their needs. Okay, ladies, like their physical needs have to be met. Okay, and my husband says that covers all the love languages, because they're all wrapped up into one thing, their physical needs. Okay, if his love language is talk, touch, acts of service, whatever his love language is, okay, gifts, it's all wrapped up into meeting his physical needs. Okay, you can do all the other things on the list and be an awesome wife, but if you are not meeting his physical needs as a man, that's a big problem. Okay, that's not going to go well for your marriage. So making sure that we're prioritizing his needs, and making sure that we're, yeah, very much prioritizing that. Okay, however that looks in your house. Okay, make it a priority. Okay, it's more important than having a clean floor. It's more important than the dishes getting put away. It's more important than the kids getting to bed on time. Okay, put a show on for the kids, let them have some quiet time, and take care of your husband. Okay, that's all I should say about that. All right, it's important. It's important. We're all married ladies on here, right? Let's go to some comments for a few minutes. I'm gonna start at the bottom and work my way up. Labrador, I became a Christian after we were married. He's not anti, but he's not guided by the Holy Spirit either. Oh, we'll be praying for you. I know that's hard. I have a couple friends that are in that situation. Just love him, love him, love him. Be gentle, show him grace, show him mercy, and love him regardless. Okay? Christ loved us while we were yet sinners. Christ loved us, right? Christ died for us. So loving the unlovable, okay? That goes for all of our husbands at times, right? And us, right? We're unlovable at times, right? And I have a good friend who is in that same situation, and she is just awesome with honoring and respecting her husband, and just being very gracious and merciful, always lifting him up, always telling everyone how he's a great husband. He is a good man. He is a great husband. He is a good father. Just all of the different things. She's always speaking very well of him. And even if it's not, you don't want to be fake, but even if it's not totally deserving, you want to find those little things that you can lift him up in, okay? Because that's what we're called to do, right? Yeah, the love languages thing, Shaquan. Yeah, I mean that one's cool. It's good to know, but it's not nearly as deep as the 16 personalities. The 16 personalities, that'll have you cracking up, because once you figure that out, then you can just torture each other for on and on. And it's not like numbers and weird stuff, y'all. It's not like, I know there's some like weird stuff. It's not that. Okay, Shaquan, this is so timely. Just been praying and seeing the Lord, but felt like I needed to do more. Finding the balance and picking battles still. Yeah. Thanks for your words. That was my stepmom. Yeah, we were standing at the stove the one day they were visiting, and she's like, I've learned to pick my battles. And I'm like, very wise woman, right? Because you want to retain that sweetness in your relationship, right? So some things are not worth it. It's just not worth it, you know? There's big things that might be worth it, but most things, ladies, are not worth it. Like, it's just not worth the stress. And as you get older, you just get more mellow, and you're just like, yep, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right. I think that was pretty much it. Carlos, you hung with us the whole time, buddy. Yeah. So that is pretty much it. If you are up until this point, I just wanted to encourage y'all to go over to TexasBoys.com. That's our little farm shop. If you haven't already, go pick something out for yourself. And in getting something for yourself, you're going to also support our family and the boys and our channel and everything like that. And if you like these kinds of talks, I'm really enjoying it. I'm usually on here. I try to be on here every single night. Sometimes I miss a day, and Sunday evenings we do courses on our main channel. But oh, good, John. Yeah, send it to your wife. That's sweet. Yeah, it was all wife talk tonight, John. So I hope I didn't offend anybody. I was trying to be guarded with my words, but be transparent, and you know, you just got to be real sometimes too. Yep. And you can always listen to this as a little podcast or whatever. Just, you know, turn it on anytime. And I'm just hoping that these little talks will be something that y'all can go back to if you need encouragement or whatever. We're a little over halfway done for the month, but we still got a long way to go. Lots more topics. And like I said, I take off Sunday night, but I try my best to be on here every single other night. And I know tonight was a little bit late, but I wanted to be faithful and getting on here and sharing with y'all. So thank you, all of you who joined me tonight, staying up late, and love you all so much. And we still have, if you're in East Texas, I know many of you are not, but if you are in East Texas and you're looking for some healthy meat, we still have a half of a beef available this month and a half of pork available this month. So you can find those reservations over on our website as well, the Texas Boys. So thank y'all so much. I will be back tomorrow evening, Lord willing, with a new topic, and it'll be fun. So I'm going to leave y'all right here. Have a super blessed night. Bye-bye.